Okay, good morning. This is February the 19th. We are week number 4 into the masterclass called Better Each Day. And so this is our first of 3 sessions that we do every Saturday. If you can be here live, great. If you're watching this, that means that you had something else that came up, whether you had to work, you had family, or you're traveling, or whatever that might be, or you just need this to be an ability for you to access this in a time where you can concentrate. You know what that means. So that's what this is about. If you're a member, that means you're receiving this by email. So thank you for being a member. If you're not a member, I'll put something in the chat here or down in the description below where you can sign up as a member, and that makes sure that you actually get access to this. Even if you're not here live, I want you to be able to access the training so that you can continue to go through the program. So we go through 3 programs. This is the beginning of Better Each Day. So it's a 3-part program that we do in the masterclass every single Saturday for the entire year of 2022. Why are we doing that? Because we want you to have access to everything that I know and everything that we can share as a group about becoming better each day. So the first thing we're going to do today, before we do the Gratitude Roundtable, the Gratitude Roundtable is specifically focused from Sean Acor's book that came out about 10, 11 years ago called The Happiness Advantage. And the idea of the Gratitude Roundtable is for all of us to share a positive concept together inside of a group to move our performance up by 31%, excuse me. So the other thing I'm going to share with you right now is a video from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And if you don't know Dr. Joe Dispenza, I've watched a ton of his videos on YouTube. He's amazing. Got a really, what I call an academic background. Comes from a more of a neuroscientist perspective on how the mind works and how the body works, and how do you line all of that up together so that you can optimize your performance. So I'm going to share an 11-minute video that's focused on the area that we talked about in the last couple of weeks that I've mentioned, Dr. Dispenza. And this is about being grateful for the future that you're creating. And if you're saying, Steve, okay, I understand being grateful. I understand how to be thankful for something that's in my life right now, or for something that might have just happened recently, or maybe something that I decided that happened in the past, and I just want to give some acknowledgement to that. But wait a minute, how am I supposed to be grateful for something in the future that hasn't happened already? And that is the key. That is the key. I'm not going to give you the answer, because if you've been on one of my other programs before, we worked on the process and practiced it a little bit. But I'm going to let Dr. Joe Dispenza explain his own science to you. And so here we go. I'm going to share my screen and we'll jump right in here. Let's see. Share the sound, jump here, and here we go.
You got to rehearse mentally who you're going to be. In the act of rehearsing and thinking about who you're going to be, planning your behaviors begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like that experience has already happened. Now your brain is no longer a record of the past. Now it's a map to the future. Now, if you keep doing it, firing and wiring, the hardware becomes a software program. And the next thing you know, you're thinking like a happy person. You're acting like an unlimited person because you would put the circuits in place. And then the last step is to teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like before it happens. And if you keep cultivating those states of mind and body, neurologically and chemically, it's going to begin to become familiar to you. And you're going to go from one personality to another. And the disease or the problem is going to exist in the old personality, and you're literally someone else. And the person doesn't have to visualize their cancer going away. They'll just tell you the cancer was in the other person. I'm somebody else. Can't live here. And the disease naturally goes away. So it's a side effect of a change. I mean, I have sat with my body, Ben, for hours, and I have watched my mind run all over the place. And there are certain thoughts that you really want to believe in because they're part of you. But when you start really overcoming your own personal limitations, and you're no longer knee-jerking to the people and conditions in your life because you've been sitting there in your meditation, and your body has thrown the kitchen sink at you, and you're just saying that's all you got, that's it, I'm gonna keep going. Sooner or later, when you break free from the chains of those habits and those emotions, and your body begins to liberate energy, we've measured this, and you start feeling joyful and free, and your heart starts to open, and you're in love with life, and you're moved, and this is a feeling that's not coming from anywhere outside of you, it's coming from within you. I guarantee you'll stand in the presence of your greatest adversary. your biggest betrayer, the person that threw you under the bus, and you'll look that person in the eye and you will have nothing but love for them, because you'll see a part of yourself you used to be that you no longer are. And the moment that happens, you no longer belong to your past, you belong to your future. And now you see it as a lesson instead of like holding a grudge. You free them and you free yourself, and you're on your way. And that's called evolution. We only complain about our life when it's not working. Nobody complains about their life when they're joyful. They just don't. You only complain about your life when you're angry or bitter or frustrated. So if a person starts working on regulating different states, then they'll say, God, I feel so great. I'm not going to lose this feeling because of that person. I'm just going to see them. Wow, I used to be like that. I just totally get them. And now you're free. And I think that's the beginning of unconditional love. I always start my meditation by raising my energy. I always start with placing my attention in the center of my chest. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And then I start practicing slowing my breath down, and then I start cultivating an elevated emotion like gratitude or joy or freedom. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling really grateful to be alive. I mean, and I'm doing that without any reason. I'm just doing it because I want to.
And you're familiar with it.
I can do it because I've practiced it enough times. Just like people practice pretending being suffering all the time. Sure. It's the same thing. Then I start raising my body's energy. And then when I do that properly, then I'm ready to create. And so then my next step is to get beyond myself. And our research shows that if you take your attention off your body, you become nobody. If you take your attention off people in your life, you become no one. If you take your attention off the things you own, you're in nothing. If you take your attention off the place you have to go, you're in nowhere. If you take your attention off of time, you're in no time. That's the moment you become pure consciousness. That's the moment that you all of a sudden start connecting to that unified field or that quantum field that I talk about. So I go as deep as I can into that unified field, and I keep surrendering deeper and deeper into it, because the more I connect to it, the more whole I feel. And now I'm in the place where all things manifest from. So then from there, it just depends on what I want. I may change my energy and tune into the potential of a mystical experience, or I may create a new opportunity. I don't know, whatever it is I'm working on, or just whatever I choose to do it. And then I sustain that for a period of time, and then I surrender it to a greater mind, and get up ready to have my day be unusual and different. So I'm passionate about it. I do it quite a bit. I have created amazing things in my life. Some things people wouldn't even believe. But I'm not the only one. I mean, there's so many students in our work that got it down. So for me, there's not a whole lot of things that I want material. I mean, I've had a lot of material things, and it doesn't really change you. What I really want are those profound mystical moments that just your jaw drops and you just go, wow, I got this all wrong. Wow, I got to really rethink life again. And I love those moments because some conditioning tends to be removed, some veil tends to be taken away, and you get a clearer view of the spectrum of the way life is. So look, I mean, I'm not the type of person that's going to ask you to talk about your childhood. I'm not the type of person that's going to ask you, to bring up issues from the past. I don't think it's as important. What's important is the emotion.
Okay.
So the emotion is the residue. It's the end product chemically of an experience. So if a person is living by the same emotion every single day, it means they're connected to their past, right? So when they work on overcoming the emotion and they learn how to get beyond it, the memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom, and that's the name of the game. So I never really care about the incident. It's incidental.
Okay.
What I care about is the emotion. So when a person comes up against their emotional belief and they think they can't go any further, and then they go a little further, just like in training, and when they have that breakthrough, they get downloads. We see it on brain scans when we measure it on the brain during meditation. All of a sudden, they'll get a download of information. And I know that person is downloading information about themselves, something really profound, and you'll see them well up emotionally. You'll see them feel something like something really profound has just happened to them. That to me is worth all the gold in the world, because that person in that moment is not only having an insight, they're getting an upgrade biologically. They're connecting to something, and the download is so profound it's not coming from their memory bank, it's coming from the field. And that field of information that's being downloaded into their nervous system is really reorganizing who they are. So I love the idea of a person getting beyond themselves, and then when they get beyond themselves, to be open to however it's going to happen. I mean, if you try to reproduce it, you're going to be in trouble because you can't. You just got to have an intention, and you have to surrender. And there's got to be that delicate balance between intention and surrender. If you over-intend, you're trying. If you over-surrender, you're lazy and lethargic. It's that kind of razor's edge where you just got to have an intention and keep surrendering it to a greater mind and keep trusting and just being open to the unknown. And then, boy, when you hit pay dirt, then all of a sudden it's always relevant to you because you're the one that's doing, you're the one that's making the effort. And that's when it transcends psychotherapy, it transcends pharmaceuticals. Your nervous system is the best pharmacist in the world anyway. All of a sudden, you start feeling amazing, and then all of a sudden, you look back at your past and you say, "I don't want to change anything. I understand why I had to have that experience. Now I'm free." That's the moment that we're all waiting for, or at least we're creating. We have a lot of our people that are in our work that are scientists that do our measurements. They use a lot of neurofeedback. But you can ask those scientists when they see the type of brain changes that take place in a 4-day workshop in our events, they'll say, we've never, ever see the changes in neurofeedback as quickly as we see in some of the work that we're measuring. So ours is kind of like, I love the principles. I just think it's a little bit more of a shortcut.
Okay, everybody hear me okay? Good, okay. All right, let's talk about this real quick before we do the gratitude roundtable. So if you want to pop yourself off mute, I apologize there. I had a sound deal. My sound here on my system, I lost everything. So I'll put the headset on, see if I can get it back. So I want to make sure everybody can hear me. So what did you just learn from Dr. Dispenza about the first part of the video of what is the necessity in order to use this process to be able to magnetize the future that you want?
For me, I think it's detaching yourself from the physical, the thoughts, and when he talks about no thing, no person, and then you come to the consciousness, and from that point where everything is created, it is then easier to manifest from the consciousness, and also by visualizing and feeling the future,
right?
You create it.
So good things. So first of all, you got to get yourself, get out of your own way. That's what you're talking about, becoming that no thing. So stepping around your ego, moving that aside. And then the thing that you talked about here is talking about your future. And when you're talking about accessing your future, you have to do what? And you said it perfectly. You have to have the feeling. So how do you feel the future? How many of you tried this?
You imagine it.
Right. We mentioned this last week on the same call. Okay. The same part of your brain that interprets the quote reality that we're at in the present moment, that feels and interprets the temperature of the room or the space that you're in, that feels the sun or feels the absence of the sun. All of those things are interpreted by your imagination. So the existence of those cannot function. You cannot understand them. You cannot comprehend them unless they go through the engine of your imagination. So the point that Dr. Dispenza is really good at making here is interpreting your present moment, the quote reality, is done through the engine of your imagination. So if you're going to the future and you're creating a perfect event, a perfect place in your life, a mountaintop experience, why can't you engage that same engine called your imagination and not just dream about it? That's the creating of the movie in your mind, if you will. So how many of you, when you think about your future event, how many of you see it like on a screen that's up in front of you, kind of like you're at a drive-in, if any of you remember what a drive-in was? Okay. I remember what a drive-in is, okay? I know my parents, they used to go to drive-ins because that's all there was, okay? But I've been to drive-ins, okay? So here's my point. When you create the movie of your future event, okay, Bob, you put your hand up that you said you see it up on like a movie screen, correct? Okay, so Bob, that explanation is called disassociation, okay? So if you created your future, you see a little movie of it, maybe it's a picture or maybe it's a small video, but when you see it up on a screen, that means you're disassociated from it. So you're here and you're watching it, okay? Is that right? Okay, so that's cool. That's the first place that you usually go to when you're creating your future. Now, to get to the associated version of this future, guess what you have to do? You have to step into the screen. You have to become part of this thing that you're imagining, and that's when you begin feeling it. Does that make sense? Yes. Everybody good on that? Everybody get that? That's a wow, okay? I mean, I learned this a long time ago when I was going through my certification for NLP, and the ability to actually get into the screen, to get into the event, changes it because it becomes real. It becomes real as far as your imagination. Yes, Bob.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Steve. Well, what I wanted to share with everybody here on this call was that this process that Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks about, it's not something that comes easily, and it's not something that if you've practiced it or mastered it at any time in your life, that it's always just going to be there. It's a process that you got to keep doing, like bathing. You can't bath once and be good for the rest of the week or the month, right? It's a process. And the reason why I say that is right now in my life, I'm finding it very, very difficult to create that situation. But I wanted to share with you times in my life, there were periods in my life where I had a very, very clear vision of what I was going to do, what I was going to achieve, or where I was going to be. And then I was actually literally playing out the movie in my mind and experiencing the actual feelings, being there and going through those experiences. And I cannot start to emphasize how almost to the T, and even better, did those actual visions materialize and those experiences really happen for me. I'm going to focus on just a couple of them. One was before I ever came to a first world country and before I ever stepped into America. It was in 2012 that in February, I made a decision because I was part of an organization that was going to have a destination event in Vegas. And I felt that because it was the first year, the country I was in was being represented and the flag was going to be flying. I had absolutely no budget. My circumstances, my finances, whether my passport would ever be, whether I would ever get a visa, etc. Against so many things, odds that were stacked against me, I visualized it and I actually played the part in like a movie experience. And I was so surprised that within a matter of just a couple of weeks, everything really changed for me. My finances just fell into place. My visas were accepted within a 30-minute interview, which was totally completely different from what people predicted would be the case from the country I was coming from. And before I knew it, I was in America and having the best experience of my life. So definitely that works. And that same situation has worked for me on other occasions. But that being said, it's something that you got to constantly be practicing, I feel, because right now I'm at a time in my life where the challenges are so much, they're so overwhelming that sometimes it's difficult to do that. Thank you, Steve.
Great comments. And I think the most important walkaway from your great comments is that we get things in our life that we learn to use, processes that work, that function. We have breakthroughs. And then what do? we forget about them. And so great reminder, Bob. That's the whole idea of the Better Each Day system, is that it requires where we're going to be at an hour from now. We're talking about P5, okay, which is the actual system. Okay, we start with the gratefulness program. That's where we're at right now, Better Each Day, called Prepping the Objective. Then the next 30 minutes, which by the way, I'm going to share the link with you in the chat right now, so it's there. If you don't have it handy, it'll jump right up and you can jump into the next event that will start here in about 8 minutes. But I just want you to have that. So when we talk about the tool that we use, okay, which is the compass, this is why this is important, because guess what? We forget the stuff that helps us do the breakthroughs. And whether it's something we've already used before and it worked and we just need to continue to reuse it, or it's something that we learned with Dr. Joe Dispenza or Wim Hof or Vishen or Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or whoever, great mind out there. And we get the breakthrough, we get the aha, we get the wow, okay? Oh, that's the thing that I've been missing. I was supposed to step into the event. I wasn't just supposed to watch the event and be disassociated. I was supposed to associate into the event and work on using my imagination to create the feelings of already accomplishing the event. Here's the key, as if it had already happened, okay? When we talk about the concept of P5, the prior preparation, practice, and planning produces performance, that's what we're talking about. It takes the practice, constant practice. It takes planning. It takes preparation. Sometimes it means remembering to use the preparation, the practicing that we did before, the planning, and redo it again, okay? But that's what's good about us getting together, as Sean Acro talks about in his newer book. It is the collaboration. It is the locking arms with individuals that are in similar mindset, because guess what we do? We remind each other of the stuff that we already know, okay? I think it wasn't Thoreau, it was his father-in-law, Emerson. Emerson said, learning is remembering what we already know. Learning is remembering what we already know. I think that was Emerson that said that. Learning is remembering what we already know. And when you think about that, you're like, well, wait a second, how do I already know that? Well, because we've already been accessed it. We've already been bumped into it. Someone already told us about it. And then we stored it back here in our mind and we forgot about it. So we need to bring it up. So it's a re-remembering of the process that someone else has used successfully or we've used successfully. And we just forget to continue to practice. And this is a great way to do that. Okay. Everybody good with that? Thank you, Bob. That was really on point. Great explanation. Right on the money too, as well, as far as thinking and being there in the event itself. Okay. Seeing all the parts of it, feeling all the essence of it, and what happens based on all the scientific research that Dr. Dispenza has done with his team. It actually magnetizes that event in the future and draws you to it. And, you know, like you said, Bob, how could you possibly have expected, when everyone was telling you that the visa process was going to be very long and drawn out and arduous, and you're probably not going to be accepted the first time, and then all of a sudden in 30 minutes, bingo. How'd that happen? You can't explain it.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, but like I said, I had created the experience in my mind, almost like it was a movie,
yep.
And that I was in it. I was part of it, and not only was I part of it, but I almost created the emotions that I was going to be going through when I was there, you know, and it's just amazing how that's exactly what manifested.
That's it. You manifested your future. I'm cautious about using that word because a lot of people, when they hear that, I get some pushback sometimes because they're like, wait a second, manifestation, that means are you trying to tell people that they can create their future? And I'm like, I'm not telling you that. Bob's telling you that. Bob just said it. I didn't say it. Someone blame Bob. But my point is you've heard too many individuals that have talked about that, and we see the breakthrough, and then we sit back and we live in our life that isn't totally optimized or actualized. This is one of the methods to do it. Okay. So does everybody get something from this? Is this good? Okay. Helpful?
Yes.
Gives you that next level of understanding. How is it that we don't just give gratitude for what we're doing right now, but how do we give gratitude for the future? So I'm going to share with you, we're going to jump forward into the compass here just real quickly because we're getting ready to go there in just a second. But I wanted to touch on this because not everybody gets to go with us into the next event. Can everybody see the compass on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I updated this one just this last week, and I want you to look at some of the things that were specifically upgraded. And that is what we're talking about here today. Describe the dream in detail. Okay. So when you're thinking about what you're being grateful for, I actually created this panel updated this panel inside of the compass. So what would you change if you lived an attitude of gratitude? Because that's having more gratitude in your life. Okay. But then I want you to describe your dream event in detail. Okay. And when you have experienced this future as if it's already happened, jot down what it feels like and give thanks. So I actually created it and added this into your compass so that it's actually your panel C now. If you see the panel numbers up here at the very top, this is panel B, this is panel A, which is the front. We worked on this last week. So we're going to be working on this in the next event here coming up in about 2 minutes. Okay. So I know we spent a lot of time focusing on being grateful for your future and how to do it, and letting Dr. Dispenza talk about it, and then letting Bob follow up with a real life event as part of our family, our community. So we didn't get a chance to do the gratitude roundtable, but I thought this would be something that adds to what we do, and not just what we do, but how we actually do it. And of course, the why that we're doing it is we're all focused, and we're here today to do what? Become our better versions so that we can become better each day. Why? Why do we want to be better each day? So that we can create our better world. Does that make sense? All of us doing our part, all of us stepping up to the next level, everybody implementing what Bob told us today. Outstanding, Bob. Thank you for that. Okay. Outstanding. Good job. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Everybody got the link for the next event. I'm going to jump off. Everybody can jump back on the next one, and we'll kick it off here in just a second. All right. Thank you. Have a good one.